Hey there, and welcome to a special episode of That Nerdy Site Show presents That Conversational Podcast episode spectacular. I don't really know what Trevor wanted me to name it, but this is a podcast from the folks over at That Nerdy Site. You can find us every week over at thatnerdysite.com. Today we're doing a special update on the Premier League pod that myself and my wonderful guest, Tom Hopkins, did from earlier in the year. That was our kind of predictions of what we thought the year would look like. Now as we kind of enter into the third month of the season, 6 or 7 games have been played for every squad. We thought we would catch back up on our rankings and predictions, see how we're faring. Spoiler alert, not great. And then also, of course, our two clubs just went head-to-head, battle-to-battle in a classic for the ages. And we've got your hard-hitting analysis of that matchup as well. So without further ado, we're just going to hop right in it. First thing first, though, how are you doing, Tom?
I'm great, Logan. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're doing real good.
I was dreading this.
We can just dive right into it. What did you think of Arsenal versus Man United?
I was quite surprised how well Arsenal played and how poorly Man United played, especially after the Leipzig game earlier in the week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is really kind of hitting the head on the nail. Arsenal was great. I mean, that's maybe not as much of a surprise to you as it is to me. Obviously, I've watched less of Arsenal this year. They're great, though. This is, and I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Arsenal this year has been a little bit like United in the fact of they'll have great performances, and then the very next game they'll have a really lackluster one. But this is absolutely a standout, I think, game for Arsenal. They played great. They were the better team for vast stretches of the match. It was a great performance by them.
I think it's less that we've been good one game and bad the next. It's more that we've had a good defensive block and been able to control games more than we used to be able to, but haven't had the creativity to actually take advantage. And then, same as always, individual mistakes and that kind of thing have let us down in defence. So we still have conceded the fewest goals of anyone in the Premier League, but we've also not scored very many.
Yeah, 9 goals you've scored so far is what I'm looking at. It's an interesting one for me because I think United is very much a team who we run, and that has been kind of the storyline of the last 100 matches with Ollie, but we run so hot and cold. We'll have such great performances and great streaks of really like winning, 5-6 games in a row, winning I think it was 11 of the first 12. We'll do great stretches, and then it'll end and we'll suddenly just lose it and be really quite dreadful for 5 or 6 matches, and then come back on. And we're such a back and forth, hot and cold club, and I think you see that even in winning versus PSG. Doing honestly really well so far in the Champions League. Both our Champions League matches I'm obviously very happy with. And then on the other side of those two games is drawn 0-0 with Chelsea and now playing pretty lackluster versus Arsenal, right? I thought, the second half we were much better, I think. But really, it was only after the goal had been scored that I think we even came 2/3 of what our full kind of potential were in terms of attacking and really pressing. And by that point,
I think Arsenal were letting you by that point.
Yeah, 100%. It was funny because obviously the announcers I had, I'm sure, were different than the ones you had, but
yeah,
they made the reference that at the end of the game, Arsenal basically just had 6 in the back. They were just it was just like half of the club was just in the back of the line, just blocking everything. And
it was more than that by the end of the game. After we brought on Maitland-Niles and Mustafi, and we were basically 8 at the back and 2 up front.
Yeah, they were just doing whatever they were, and just but we couldn't get anything done, and the few chances we had, we just kind of squandered. It's an interesting game in that Arsenal won, and they were the better side, but they also let some spectacular chances go. And this
Oh yeah.
almost had the making of another just like scoreless 0-0 draw of a game in it. And if it hadn't been for Pogba, it very well could have been, because it very much was Arsenal with plenty of chances, but not nailing him. United having a few, not finishing them off. And I'm sure we'll get into this in a second, but the team selection of United is also one that I found very interesting, how the team was set up for the match.
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it? It was the same as in midweek, but so it was only the second time you played that diamond in midfield with Fred deep.
Yeah.
And that was great in midweek, but it doesn't work against a team that are pressing centrally. So Arsenal had, in the first half at least, we played with essentially 6 pressing forward, and then our centre backs would come out and pressure like Fernandes and even sometimes Pogba and McTominay on either side. So we're winning the ball back so quickly that you couldn't play centrally, but you don't have the wide players to go wide. So you don't you don't have wingers, any of them really, other than Dan James. And your fullbacks are so defensively minded compared to other teams' fullbacks.
Yeah.
Wan-Bissaka isn't an attacking fullback, and Luke Shaw's okay, but he's not
I
the
like
best
Luke
going
Shaw,
forward. Yeah.
I think, and the problem, we're such a. I mean, this is what we talked about in that Premier League predictions episode as well. Is that United is such a strange side, and that I feel like, right, like defensively, I think in the best of times we range from is good to just an absolute mess. I think defensively today, I thought we were fine. I don't think we were particularly dreadful. I don't think we were particularly spectacular. I thought we were fine. And attacking wise, I think we can be. I mean, as we kind of saw midweek, I think we can be really quite brilliant on attacking side of the things. We can also just kind of very much not be that. I said this in the prediction episode too. Like the midfield is one for me where I just don't. It feels like there's no sort of idea of what we want that to look like, and it changes every 3 games. I feel like, because we'll have a loss and be like, let's scratch the entire system that we're working with and try something new. Try a diamond. We'll just fucking throw everybody out we can. And I think this inability to nail down a system and nail down kind of what this team is, right? Like I read, because there were a bunch of different articles and features and like opinion pieces out about, obviously Ollie hit in like the 100 match managed kind of milestone here, and kind of reflecting on his legacy. And one I really liked is, after 100 games, you knew what Klopp's side was and what his team kind of was, right? You knew what Pep's side was. Like you had very clearly of like what this kind of team is. And after 100 games, I'm still not really sure what his kind of team and his side and what this United team really is at all. And part of that is digging back out of where we were kind of at by the end with Jose, but it's also just, I don't know how much of a vision he has and how much of a clearly defined, this is what I want United to look like.
Yeah, I think it's a few things. So comparing him to Klopp and Pep, he doesn't have the experience at the top level yet. Yeah. He's gone from Cardiff and Mulder and then straight to United essentially. So he's not got that top level experience yet. He also doesn't have the players. He's not been getting the players he wants. So with Pep and Klopp, when they wanted a player, the board would go out and buy the player they wanted, or at least someone who fit the mould anyway. You were after Sancho. You didn't get any right midfielder. You got Cavani, who doesn't fit the kind of thing Ole probably wants to do. Mm-hmm. So he's stuck with playing players, whoever he's got in the systems he thinks work. So McTominay was playing sort of right central midfield today, but he would also want to play where Fred was playing. Yeah. Pogba was playing left centre mid, but he'd either want to play further forward or not have to push out to the wing and cover the fullbacks like he was today. So it's difficult with the players United have got. So I understand why Ollie struggles, but I suppose that's his job to work out something to do.
It's also one for me of, and I'm curious for you as well, what exactly is going on with Van der Beek, because he is kind of their big summer signing. They splashed all this money about. They made a whole big fuss about him, and he's just essentially riding the bench at this point. And is just like a sub man only. And I don't look. I'm not saying Donny Van der Beek is going to be the second coming of David Beckham if he gets into the starting 11 here, but certainly after how much fanfare was made, it's strange that he's still riding the bench here. And I wonder if it's some sort of I wonder how much almost this was management almost. This is the ownership wanted to bring him on, and instead of him actually having a natural place in the starting 11, because certainly it seems like he's not meshing within whatever sort of vision all he has for his starting 11 right now. And it's very strange because it seems pretty obvious that he should have some sort of role in the long-term outlook of this team. And it's already just we spent, 6 games plus, a few non-league matches, and he's still... And it just goes into the larger thing, just United still feel like they're just figuring it out as they go along and have no kind of clear plan.
Yeah, I think he'd fit perfectly where McTominay played today, in sort of the right centre mid role. But I think Ollie loves Fred and McTominay for whatever reason. I don't know why. I don't watch United every game, so I don't know if he's proven himself to be the best centre mid. But I don't know why Van der Beek's not getting more of a chance when United aren't getting the results. Surely giving him a try and seeing how he performs is a good idea.
So it's interesting for me because I like McTominay a lot. I actually think that he can really grow and develop more and more and kind of become a permanent fixture on the club here. Fred is the one for me who I'm beginning to be worried is becoming a little bit like Pogba, where he can run really hot and really cold. And I worry about his consistency. I mean, obviously, we haven't even gotten to the elephant in the room of United, which is, again, as has been the case, it seems like forever at this point, Paul Pogba just... His greatest contribution to the game was to the wrong side. It was giving you the penalty. Otherwise, he was just gone for the vast majority of this game.
I do think he's being played out of position a little, though. So he spent when you're attacking at the end, he spent it all at left wing, which he's not a left winger.
I do think he's definitely being played not to his greatest potential, but I also wonder how much he wants to be here, right? It's also thinking, I also just don't know how happy he is at United anymore, because he's not being played in his favorite position every week, but I also think that I don't know. I think someone as talented as he is, because he's clearly so talented. You see him play with France, and he's just, almost a night and day difference at times. I just think that he just doesn't want to be here anymore. And I think there's something to be said for if we to do a diamond and have Pogba maybe be the odd man looking out and leave Fred, McTominay, and then bring on Donny Van der Beek instead of Pogba and give it that and see what that looks like. Because certainly I think, the reason I think it won't happen is because he's Paul Pogba and you're paying him exorbitant amounts of money.
Yeah.
But also, at a certain point in time, he's just, I think it's fair to say, clearly not going to work with what they're wanting this team to be.
Yeah, I've said before, Pogba, he needs to play in a very defined position. He plays left of a midfield 3, and that's where he's at his best, and he doesn't perform in any other formation or position. He never has. At Juventus, he was at his best alongside Pjanic and Matuidi in a midfield 3, marauding up and down the left channel between the fullback and the centre-back. He's got such an engine on him, he can run and run and run, but he's not someone that can play in a rigid formation or defend or anything like that. So you kind of got to build a team around him, and the United squad isn't the squad that can be built around him.
No, I mean I think it's interesting too, because I think certainly I would hope that if United were to build the squad around a single player, it would be Rashford, who I think has a very, very high ceiling in terms of his potential. And I thought Rashford actually, for what it's worth, played well today. I have no real confidence in him. And to be fair, I also think Greenwood. I mean, Greenwood made mistakes, but I think that kid has so much energy that like I really am excited to see kind of how he continues to develop. And forced a great save from beyond the match, but on the whole, I think this game to me was not, anything more or less than just United kind of having a mess of it in the midfield, and Arsenal. I mean, to kind of shift to their side of the things, just playing really, really well at times.
It was, I think, the way Arsenal pressed, and they were compact. So they played high up the field, but were compact at the same time, pressing together, committing, being aggressive, which isn't something they always do, and that's what was forcing United into mistakes. They were misplacing passes.
Yeah.
They were trying to flick round corners, and they were at their best when they were going long to Rashford.
Yeah.
But I think Arsenal forced that.
It was astonishing to watch too, just how much they pressed and just how much they were really going at it, especially in the first half where they were at times getting almost no resistance back. Like they really, very easily, you could have seen them have a goal or two by the end of that first half.
Yeah. Arsenal's two central midfielders were phenomenal. Both of them were. Even Mohamed El Neni, who I've never seen play like that well before.
Yeah, that was a consensus I was seeing on Twitter as well. Is a few people were saying the same thing. They hadn't seen him play that well. Yeah, it was. I mean, even Willian, like I thought. I mean, he had one that. I mean, aside from like a freak hitting the crossbar thing, easily would have been a goal.
Yeah, I think he should have done better with that, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, it was. But even with what it was, I mean, just like that was a great crack. And Arsenal, it very much felt in the entire first 45 that I was just at a certain point I was like, I'm just braced for them to finally break through and get it. And it's almost a disservice to how well they played that their only goal came on a penalty.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
But I mean, it was a thoroughly great job for them. And in terms of like a tactical matchup, I mean, I don't think there's any objection from you that when I would say that like it's pretty open and shut that Arsenal just tactically came out of the gate better. And even after the half, I mean, I think United played better, but Arsenal still.
United didn't threaten very much.
Side, even, yeah, it was still the better side even in the second half. Like tactically, I think they just were the better team as well.
I think United were better the first 15 minutes or so of the second half, and then Arsenal took control back. They weren't quite as aggressive as in the first half, but they still took control of the game.
Yeah, it's one for me where I'm curious to see, because I'm sure you probably know right off the top of your head or can certainly figure it out, but because I don't know who Arsenal plays next.
We've got Aston Villa at home next weekend, I think.
Yeah.
But
it is just such a. This is how United should have come out the gate. I mean, like they should have been pressing, they should have been attacking. Like they should have been so full. Yeah, and they should have been so. I feel like right on such a high after. I mean, 5 goals, a hat trick from Rashford. Like they were on it, and then it was another mess. And to be fair, like. I don't need to be persuaded that much that Arsenal is just a better side than United is right now in general, but certainly I thought the game would be more compelling than it was for the long stretches of it, right? Like this is not, and it's disappointing too because now we've had, to be fair, first off, United have just had a hash of the season, really, in terms of the Premier League. 2 wins in 6 games, and one of those wins, the scoreline is more flattering than the actual game was. So really only one great win. And against the big sides, I mean, God, we could do an entire podcast on the Spurs game, and how disastrous that was. But even against Chelsea, I mean, a 0-0, right? Like, draw was plain to watch. This one they couldn't muster up anything, right? Like we've also only got 9 goals in the season, just as Arsenal do. But whereas y'all have only allowed 7, we've allowed 13.
Yeah.
And we're in 15th place after 6 games, which is certainly not where I expected us to be. And we can't. It's this weird thing of, I feel like for so many years United have had really great performances against the best teams, and then like it's against those kind of weaker minnows that they really kind of let their guard down and just will let easily winnable situations get out of hand and lose. And now we're not doing great against the easily winnable situations, a la Crystal Palace, and we're not particularly doing that great against the big teams either.
Yeah.
It only seems when we're playing non-English sides we can kind of really get the best out of ourselves here. Yeah, it's disappointing. I don't really, I guess we can kind of transition away from this game into kind of larger season. I'm a little nervous of United right now. This hot and cold concerns me. Like, I still think obviously they're going to finish in the top half at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly worried about that, but the top 4 I think is much more of a real worry now, especially with how open this title race is.
Yeah, there's so many more people in the race for top 4 than, or at least top 6 than there was when we did our first podcast.
Yeah.
I never thought
Everton
or Leicester. I know Everton aren't quite as good as we thought they were 2 weeks ago, but
still, they're better than I thought they were.
Leicester
at the beginning of the year.
And even people like West Ham are just better than I thought they'd be.
Yeah, I mean Villa.
Villa, yeah. Well, they were terrible today
that's
until the last 20 minutes, but
sure, but like even still, like there are these teams who I just didn't expect, and sides that I thought would be better. That you maybe were more correct about. Like, I really did think that Burnley would be better than they've been so far. Like, I hate to see kind of what's going down there. We can feel good about getting Fulham right, I think.
Yeah, I think that was nailed on. I think everyone knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, feel all right about that one, and I feel all right about Sheffield United as well.
I'm surprised they're as bad as they are.
The one for me that I feel good about in terms of just like, aside from where they'll fall in the season, in terms of just being an exciting team to watch, is Leeds United. I mean, they've just been, they're just fun to watch.
They are.
And I think I would say that at this point I'm leaning more towards them maybe making the top half than not. It would be like 10th probably, but they are a ton of fun to watch, and I would take that almost. I would take Leeds United's record and their excitement to watch, then United just figuring it out again. I mean, it's that thing of like, because how many years has it been since Wenger left now?
Three full seasons.
Years?
Two full seasons, and then this season.
Yeah, and versus it's now going on 7 years since Ferguson left.
Yeah.
And I mean, it feels Arsenal still. It can still be a little Arsenal-y at times, but certainly, 7. I mean, I'll be the first to say Alex Ferguson is massive shoes to step into, but I certainly didn't think the project to succeed that would take 7 years. And the bulk of my 20s. I was a bit more optimistic, maybe naively, but this is, I mean, we have just been really quite dreadful at home for starters.
I think Ferguson left the club in a worse state than people realised. The squad was terrible. He was getting a lot out of very average players towards the end of his career.
I think there was. I wish I could find it, and if I can, I'll include it in the show notes for this. But there was a video from the guys over at Tifo Football, which is a YouTube channel I really like, and they had a video on Fergie's last season and how it was actually one of his best seasons as a manager, getting that team to win the title of the year, and how they went to how that was kind of a minor miracle.
Van Persie dragged them to that title.
Yeah, and I think watching what happened immediately next, right, and how that team kind of was already falling apart in his last year. It's weird to say people don't give him enough credit because he's Alex Ferguson, and he gets a fair amount of credit. But like that last season in particular, and like getting them as far as they did, and keeping it somewhat together, I think you just saw immediately how damaged things actually kind of were. But this is, I mean, like I would again, if I had to, wager, I would say right now I'm gonna stick to my ground. I'm still gonna say United's gonna finish 4th for the season.
Really?
Whether or not they actually do, I don't know. But right now, if we'd have like a pod at the halfway point in the season, maybe then I'll finally jump from that position. Right now, we're going to be 4th. We're going to turn it around. We're going to at some point in time have an 8-game win streak and catapult back into contention again. Something insane will happen because that's just how we play at this point. But I will say that our best chance for a trophy increasingly appears to not be the Premier League. So, here we go. FA Cup Champions League. We got it. I believe. Arsenal, though, Tom, to go to your side, first off, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the fact that what is happening with Mesut Ozil. Like, what is going on? Like, 'cause we haven't had the chance to really talk about this since we've recorded the pod, obviously, and it's just... Can they just let this poor man live his life in peace?
I think people care too much about it. He's done at Arsenal.
Oh, sure.
He's never going to play for us again. He's going to leave in the summer. He'll go off to China or wherever he needs to get some more money, and no one will think of him again. He was great for a couple of years. He went off the boil after his new contract. He was underperforming. Didn't fit into the way either managers wanted to play. He came back a little bit under Arteta at the start of, or the end of last season, between sort of January and whenever coronavirus stopped it all. But he doesn't fit in anymore. He's better being out the squad and people not talking about him. Oh, he should be in the starting 11. Oh, he should be coming on the bench. Oh, blah, blah, blah. He's better just being away and us cutting ties with him. I don't think he is that bothered anymore. He's just playing the PR game now with Arsenal to make up all his fans think badly of Arsenal. The sooner he goes, the better. But he's collecting his money and carrying on. It's fair play to him. He can do what he like.
Yeah, it is one of the stranger. I mean, like I'll be curious to get your take on this actually too. Where it's like I've never maybe gotten the. It feels like constant drama around him. I mean, this is going back years. Like I've never quite gotten.
He's got a really dedicated fan base for whatever reason. He's got fanboys ever since he was at Real Madrid. He's got fanboys.
Right?
He's one of the most followed people on social media, footballers on social media. He's got fanboys for whatever reason, and he was brilliant at Real Madrid and for a couple of years at Arsenal. He was fantastic, but he's not anymore, and we don't need him. He'd do a job in a couple of games a season. I think if he was in the squad, he would have played maybe once or twice if he was still in favour. But he wouldn't get into the starting 11 anymore. No.
Do you moving topics? We're done with him now. Again, at the beginning of the year, you predicted Arsenal would finish. I want to say in 5th, or did you? No, you put them ahead of Man United. Put them in 4th.
Yeah, I think I went Liverpool, City, Chelsea, Arsenal, United in that order, didn't I?
Yep. Do you stand by them being in 4th at the end of the year?
Yes, I think my top four would remain the same in the same order. I think.
Ooh.
But below that, I think would change.
Chaos. I think my top 4. So I did Liverpool, City, Chelsea, United. Chelsea's a weird one too.
Yeah, I think Chelsea could finish anywhere between 3rd and 8th.
Yeah, I stand. So like that's an interesting one for you. Even with the injuries and kind of the weirdness of the season, I still think Liverpool are the favorites to win the title, and it sounds like you agree with that.
Yeah, I think their attacking force is it's better than anyone else's by considerable margin.
And City have also. They're in no position to really take advantage of Liverpool, like the injuries Liverpool has had.
I think if City were playing as well as
City's
they did a couple
a
of seasons ago, they'd be winning this league comfortably. But they don't have the.
Yeah.
No,
I mean
they don't
City
play the
right
same way
now.
anymore.
right now Manchester City sitting in 10th place, so I think that says something to kind of their own issues at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Liverpool, City, Chelsea. And I'll keep my top 4 the same. I will say that, like, I do think that Everton can really crack into the top 4. Like, I think they can absolutely do it.
The issue with Everton is
for
they
what
have a
it's-
starting 11, and then as soon as they get one injury or one suspension, the quality
Yes.
drop-off is huge.
Yes, 100%. So they have to stay healthy.
And stop getting red cards.
But yeah, I will also say for what it's worth that, like, I think it's unlikely, but I do think Wolves can be like 5th or 6th. I think they can absolutely be right on the edge of the top 4. Like Wolves, Southampton is a side that I think is going to eventually drop off. But Wolves, I feel much better about saying I really think they can get like a Europa League spot, like really make a go for it.
Yeah, I can see that happening, certainly.
And this is such a season where it's so weird. It's going to be so rapid in terms of how quickly the turnaround is going to be for games that it allows for just weird sides to really pop up, right, and have a Wolves or Everton or Southampton, which I think is less likely, really make a go of it. I mean, obviously, like, I think Leicester City absolutely is going to finish in the top 6 now. I feel actually pretty confident about that. Like,
Who do you think is going to drop out?
This is the thing for me where I obviously just gave my prediction of, like, this is the top 4. And having said that, I think City and Liverpool, I think, are going to finish in the top 4.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I think, like we kind of said, I think Chelsea could absolutely go from 3rd to 8th. I think, truthfully, United can go from, like, 3rd to 10th.
Yep.
I think United has a huge window. I could see them being in 10th place. Arsenal, I feel like the window is smaller. Like, I don't think they're going to go down to 10th, but I think, again, like, 3rd to 8th, I wouldn't be shocked by. And Spurs is the one for me where if Spurs team was just the attacking side, I'd feel great saying they're a top 4 team. They're like they can make go for the top 3. Like they're attacking wise, great.
Yeah.
It's kind of everything else that makes me really a bit nervous in saying like they're going to be a top 4 or anything.
Yeah.
I don't like
the game
I'm
against
just
West
not
Ham last
sure.
weekend is a perfect example of what Tottenham can do.
Yes.
They can blow teams away one minute and be dreadful the next, and you don't know what's going to happen.
I think
They're so difficult to predict.
Yeah, I think Leicester is one who I don't know, like Leicester to me is a definition of they're just a good team. Like they're not great, they're not spectacular. They're just good. They're just good at what they do, and they're gonna get losses. They're gonna get wins, and I think they're just gonna slowly over the course of the season just vacuum up points. And if any of the big 6 teams slip up, which I think they will, I think a few could slip up because the season is gonna be so long, in terms of how many games are being played in such a compact amount of time. I really think Leicester is just gonna slide in there, and I think Leicester can absolutely get as high as like 3rd or 4th, because I would not be shocked if come the end of the season we're looking at like Liverpool winning it, Man City 2nd, and then Chelsea, United, Arsenal, and Spurs have all kind of had rough spells at times, and Liverpool just kind of been consistently good. And I also just think that I don't know how much I ever really bet against Jamie Vardy just to have another 22, 23, 24 goal season and just be this like, man fighting father time. Because he's just really good at what he does. I mean, he scores goals. And this is what he does, and he's very good at it. And I think there's something to be said for Leicester. Just like I think that's a club that has a lot of heart because I think Vardy has a lot of heart, and that can carry them a long way.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to rely on him. He's their only goal scorer.
Yes.
But
yeah,
they've got such a solid foundation
again,
that they're going to do well no matter what.
Yeah, I'll say this. I feel much more secure in saying that like the mental side of things for Leicester is much stronger than it is for United right now.
Yeah.
for just to pick on one Big Six team, or even Spurs for that matter. Where Spurs, I feel like they just seem like a team that I'm always worried about, just like mentally being a little fragile. Like if things just don't go their way, like they immediately can start to crack a little bit. And maybe that's undeserved at this point, but like that's just kind of how I've always felt about them for the last few years. And I just think that that's not the case with Leicester, because I think Jamie Vardy, even if they're down, like I feel like 3 goals, he's just gonna be so angrily yelling at every player on that team, just like come back and they can still win it somehow. And I just don't know if I see that as much with Spurs. Certainly with United, I think it just depends on the day of the week. Like they absolutely can make a great comeback as we've done in the past, and then they can also just totally fall apart.
Yeah.
On the other side of things, again, my prediction for the bottom 3 teams is looking a little rough. Only for one side in particular, because again, I had predicted Fulham. I believe I said West Brom, and then I also said, embarrassingly, Southampton.
You were more wrong than
so
I was,
that one,
and I was wrong.
Yeah, that one was a rough one. I, again, feel great about Sheffield United. I think that I think they're going down. West Brom, I still feel okay about saying I think they'll probably just go down or really still be in that kind of bubble all the way through the season.
They'll be in contention with it. Yeah.
Southampton, I think it's fair to say they're probably not going to go down. You correctly called Burnley. I can't remember your bottom 3 might have been Fulham, Burnley, and.
So if I remember rightly, I had Fulham and West Brom to definitely go down, and then it was Burnley, Brighton, and West Ham were my maybes. West Ham I don't think are going to go down, and Brighton I don't think will, but Burnley are now my front runners to join Fulham and West Brom. I think Sheffield United have, if they can get back any of the defensive form they had last season, they'll be fine. They don't need to score as many goals. They have more of a base than the rest of the relegation candidates do. So if they can turn it around, they've got more of a chance of picking up some points. But I don't think Burnley and Fulham and West Brom have the quality or the experience to be solid and pick up points after points after points.
This is a fun little question, because I'm looking at the Premier League table right now, so I have the full breakdown in front of me.
Yeah, so do I.
Well, take your eyes off it. Do you know what side has allowed the most goals this season? Now you probably do.
It's still Liverpool. Is it Liverpool still? Or it was yesterday?
It's Liverpool still, yeah. Yep. 15. Have also, to be fair, scored the most at 17.
Yeah.
But that is, I feel like that's gonna be the kind of season it is for Liverpool.
Especially
I think
with
eventually
the
they're gonna.
injuries.
Yeah, I think eventually they're gonna tamp things down defensively somewhat. I don't think they're gonna be rocking a +2 goal differential all the way through to the end of the season. But it is interesting to see just how many they've let in, because I did not know that it was Liverpool until about 1 minute ago.
They mentioned it. They said on our commentary yesterday. I think it was in one of the matches yesterday. They said that no one has conceded more goals since Liverpool won the league last season. So 6 or 7 games before the end of last season. No one has conceded more goals than Liverpool since then.
Yeah. Very strange. Very strange. Yeah, United and Arsenal. The final thing I'm going to go over is just a general update on how are the Gunners doing in the Europa League.
As fine as you'd expect. They're beating teams that are defensive block. They'll win probably 5 of the 6 games, if not 6 of the 6 games. They'll all be boring. No one really cares.
That's one of my favorite. How far you think Arsenal's going to go?
It's difficult. So what are we? It's the last 3 seasons we've made semi-final, final, and then been beaten by. Was it Olympiacos last year we lost to? See, I can't even remember that.
No.
But I think it all depends on what team shows up.
Who's in the Europa League this season? Look at this. Who are the Roma, Bayer Leverkusen.
How good are these teams now? I don't know how good these teams are anymore. Roma used to be good. Are they as good as they used to be?
It's all AC Milan. I mean, I guess like.
I'm not scared of any Italian teams, that's for sure, unless it's Juventus.
Are you afraid of Juventus though? That's my thing. Like, I
Not
just
even
don't
not that
know.
much, but more so than the rest of the Italian
Yeah,
teams.
that's my thing. Like, this. It is a fun season in the aspect of like, really, no league feels really settled. Like, it all feels up in there in all 5 of the major leagues in Europe right now.
Yeah, I've just brought up the
Um,
Italian table, and Sassuolo were second. I thought they'd
Yeah.
be bottom 5. I didn't even know that.
It's
Atalanta were good,
it.
but that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't. I
It's
and
one.
in the Spanish league, Barcelona and Real Madrid are both struggling.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Barcelona's 12th right now.
They're
I think.
12th, are
Like,
they?
It's
Yeah, they are.
it's one for me where it's making the whole season feel exciting. It's also making it harder to predict things, maybe.
Yeah.
I will also. I know this is like slightly sacrilegious to say potentially, because he's Lionel Messi, but is it possible, Tom? Is it possible? Is all I'm saying that we're beginning to see the decline and drop off in Messi right now? Like,
Possibly.
there's
Yeah.
been so.
I think
there's been
Barcelona's
so
bigger
much
problems is the squad. They need
Yeah.
a lot of new players. They need to get rid of a lot of players.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of like problems within Barcelona itself, and obviously the whole drama with him and the president and
Yeah.
all that I understand. But I also just wonder if it's one of those things where like there are a lot of excuses being made, and so like we're just not noticing the fact that like maybe he's just not quite as good as he was before, right? Like
Potentially.
maybe Messi just isn't going to be the Cristiano Ronaldo in terms of the longevity of like being. Ronaldo's 37, I think now.
Is he 37 now?
35?
Well, Messi's 30.
He's-
Messi must be 33, 34 now.
Yeah, like it's that thing. Like certainly Ronaldo is 35 and over, and so it's that thing. Like maybe Ronaldo is just a freak of nature cyborg who, and like, you know,
Ronaldo's
Ibrahimovic, too,
35.
was
Ronaldo's 36 in February.
Yeah, and so you know Ibrahimovic is 40 basically now,
Yeah.
and it's like maybe Messi just isn't gonna necessarily have that same level of longevity.
Messi's only just over a year younger than Ronaldo.
So 34 then.
Oh no, just over 2 years. He's 34 next June. So yeah, just two and a
So
bit,
33
two and a bit years younger than Ronaldo.
Yeah, so this is the thing of like maybe it's just possible that like we're beginning like his decline will be a little bit faster than Ronaldo's.
Yeah, possibly. I think. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Oh yeah.
And again, we're also, to be fair, like I think Barcelona played like 10 games total this season, but like I just wanted to throw it out there. And if I'm right, you know, I'm right, and you know, I'll feel sad because we're getting to kind of the end of that era. And if I'm wrong, everybody can make fun of me for getting wrong. But it is interesting, like because I don't know if Messi. Certainly, I know like a couple weeks back, he still hadn't scored a goal in open play. All of his goals had been from penalties so far this season. And so I am just, and again, Barcelona is kind of a mess in general, obviously. But it is just interesting to keep an eye out for that. Juventus, I'm not really worried about them at all. I think that side is also kind of a mess. But
they've
I
got
think
some.
Ronaldo is
They've got some
very-
fabulous players. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And they have
I
the
think
ability
Ronaldo
to
very
defend
clearly
well
is
if they want to.
It's going to be seen. I don't know. Anyway, in the Champions League, United feeling great. Feeling 2 for 2 so far. Feeling real good about there. Who do we... I think that... I mean, you have to still pick, obviously, Bayern to be Champions League favorites at this point.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's still them. Them and Liverpool are probably the two favourites.
Yeah, definitely. But, like, in terms of everybody else, like, I don't know. Like, I said at the beginning of the season, I thought United could get to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. And I still think that's doable.
Yeah, I think
In this
anyone
weird-
could, really. Anyone, not
yeah, in this
anyone
weird
could agree.
topsy-turvy, mad season, I think they could do it. And I would be happy with a quarterfinals appearance in the Champions League, a top 4 finish, top 4 in the Premier League, and then, you know, we'll win the FA Cup. Why not? Those are my predictions.
Yeah, I
don't
can see
care
that
about-
happening.
I don't care about the Carabao Cup or whatever the hell it's called this year.
The United's still in the Carabao Cup.
Is that yeah?
There's only how many teams left? I think is there 4 teams or 8 teams left? I think Arsenal have got City next.
I was just googling it, to find. I was like, I don't even know.
I can tell you how many left. There's no more than 8 teams left. I don't think.
What year are we in? 2020.
Yeah.
So let's see. Right now we've got quarterfinals: Arsenal, Man City, Brentford, Newcastle, Everton, Man United, and Stoke and Tottenham are the quarterfinal matchups. So we played in December. Right. Couldn't care less. If we win, great.
Yeah.
But, this is a fake.
I won't care till we get to the final, essentially, or if we got to the final.
Yeah. Who are you playing? Are you playing City? You
got City next. Yeah. we've had Liverpool already. We beat Liverpool away on penalties. Was that on penalties? I think that was on penalties. And we had Leicester away as well.
You did beat Liverpool on penalties. Yeah, 4-5. United have Everton, so
anything could happen in that game.
Yeah. And it's in Liverpool. Okay. Oh, the semifinals are going to be one leg.
Yeah, they are this year.
I think, that's what I'm saying. Those are my predictions for United. Do we think, the last thing I'm going to say, because why not? Because it's my podcast and I can do whatever I want. Who do you think is going to win top goal scorer this year?
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. The predictions I would have made at the beginning of the season are not necessarily the ones I will make right now for that title. That's why
I think the options are limited more than I would have said they were at the beginning of the season. I think Mo Salah and Sadio Mane are possibilities.
Yes.
I think Harry Kane's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Vardy will be up and around there.
Mm-hmm.
And Heung-min Son.
I'm looking at the list right now. Yeah.
He's been excellent this season. Very, very good.
Absolutely spectacular. Yeah.
I think that's probably as far as I go. I don't think any City player is going to score enough with Aguero not playing.
Have you said anybody from Everton?
I don't think they're going to fall off. I don't think Dominic Calvert-Lewin will score enough goals. I don't think they'll win enough games for him to score enough goals.
You really don't trust them?
No, not these after these last 2 games.
Yeah.
They were terrible earlier this weekend.
God,
really
Son's
bad.
done it in 5 games too. I didn't realize he'd only played so few too.
Who scored Tottenham's second goal this afternoon? I haven't seen. They're 2-1 up at the moment. Oh, Gareth Bale scored.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Did he really?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Maybe that's him being back.
Healthy.
No, I don't think he'll be.
Gareth Bale wins the goal. Yeah. I think that if I had to put a ranking of who I think is gonna do it, I would say, I mean, I don't know if you can really kind of bet against Mo Salah, Harry Kane, Jamie Vardy. Right now, I mean, I guess I'd have to put Son right at the top of the pack because he's gotten 7 goals in 5 matches. He's looking pretty good. Sadio Mane too, yeah. Do you think Aubameyang or Lacazette can do it?
Lacazette, no. He's not. No, definitely not. Aubameyang, it kind of depends how Arsenal progress from here. We're not a particularly attacking or creative side. He's not going to get that many chances. He'll score a lot of goals, but I don't think we'll score enough goals as a team for him to be up there.
Because he got, what? How many did he get last season again?
22, and then Vardy won with 23. Was that what it was?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I would say.
But we were more open. We conceded more and
Aguero
conceded more.
Wins the Golden Boot this year. You heard it here first.
Really?
Sergio Aguero. I don't even know if Sergio Aguero's got 3 goals this season so far.
Has he got any for City?
I don't think anybody from City gets it. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they'll play. I don't think they'll play regularly enough. The strikers.
The more
anyway.
interesting thing for me for City is because I don't think they're going to win, so I don't really care about that side of things. Do you think Pep stays after this season, or do you think he's gone?
That's a good question. I think how will they do in the Champions League will make a big difference.
You think what do you think? It's semi-finals they have to get to at least.
I think they need to get to the final.
Really?
But also, I also don't think he'll leave until they do well enough. I think he'll either leave if they do really badly. Well, I don't know. It's difficult. I don't know what he wants. I think City want to win the Champions League, but I don't think they're good enough at the moment to win the Champions League. I think they had more of a chance a couple of seasons ago because they are short a striker. As good as Guerrero is, he's not as good as he used to be. And I think they need a striker. Their defenses, they've improved their centre backs, but they need a left back and a striker.
I think City could have done it in 17, 18, even like 19. Like I think any of those seasons I could have seen them really winning the Champions League, and I think now, I mean, I think I would be genuinely quite surprised if Man City made the finals of the Champions League right now. Based on how they're playing right now, I would be surprised by that.
Yeah, I think semi-finals is probably, depending on what the draw is, what side of the draw they're on. I think semi-finals is where you'd expect. I think them, Liverpool, Bayern Munich are the three you'd expect to be in the semi-finals. PSG potentially, and then, but I think the fourth spot is quite open in the Champions League.
Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus.
I think we could see a surprise in there as well.
Yeah, which is kind of what again, it all depends on the draw, obviously, but like that's kind of what I'm almost more likely to think happens.
Yeah,
is I would go as far to say like I could see a scenario where Liverpool and Bayern are in there, but I'm actually I think not super high on PSG necessarily even making the semifinals.
I was surprised how poor they were against United.
Yeah. They've not played great really this whole season either, and
they're still top of the league.
That's saying it's an indication of how of that
how poor the French league
is. It's one for me where I've never been super as sold on Neymar as some people have, and so we'll just see how far that team can go.
I think they made some poor signings in the summer. I don't think their signings have strengthened them.
No, I don't either. I also think that's a side where I think I'm kind of of the opinion that, like, I think whether or not PSG wins the Champions League is irrelevant. I think Neymar, I kind of have the feeling that he might be leaving after this season potentially.
Yeah, I think he'll go back to Spain.
Yeah.
Either of Barcelona or Real Madrid, one of the two.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say. And so I just don't know. We'll see. I don't feel great about that PSG because once he leaves, I don't feel like they're whatever to me at that point.
Yeah, they've got Mbappe and Neymar and Di Maria to an extent, but after that, they're quite a poor side.
They're gonna win, but do you think? I wonder how much they have like. Even those guys were right. Like
the issue is those two are so expensive. There's only 3 or 4 teams in the world that can afford to buy them, and it depends what the situation the world's like then, what the clubs need. Because I don't think anyone other than Barcelona, Real Madrid, Man United, and Man City can afford to buy Mbappe and Neymar. Because PSG are one of the only ones that could afford it, and they've already got them.
I think it's possible Neymar goes to City as well.
Yeah,
I would add that as like the third team. I don't think it was United, but I think City,
I don't think United
Real
are good
Madrid,
enough for him to go there.
Barcelona. I think United are just too much of a mess right now. Honestly, for like, I don't know how appealing they are as a destination.
Yeah, if I was Neymar, I wouldn't choose to go to Man United. That's
right. Like
for sure.
I like if I could go anywhere in the world to play right now, I would go to Man United because I obviously am who I am, but like if I was a rational human being, I might not as much be excited to go there. It's kind of a mess right now, and so, certainly in terms of like the big 4 teams you just named. But I don't know. Will be interested to see. I'll be interested to see what happens there. Ultimately, Bayern Munich is going to win the Champions League probably again or Liverpool, because those are, I think, kind of far and away the two best teams in Europe at the moment.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool is still going to win the Premier League. I think Liverpool's, for what it's worth, I think they have the shortest kind of range they can go in. Like, I don't think I can really see a scenario where Liverpool does worse than like third. Like, that's like kind of the worst case scenario for me. Is like, yeah. Whereas like City, I think I could see them doing, like, I could see City potentially falling out of the top four if things
I
really
don't think City will finish any lower than 4th.
gel.
I think Liverpool and City will finish top 2.
I think City's going to finish second, but I think it could go bad. Like, I think they could get 4th or 5th.
I think they've got too many quality players for that to happen.
But they're going to get... I think ultimately, yeah, Liverpool and City are the two I feel good about. Chelsea I still feel pretty good about. Especially, like, Chelsea is, I think, the side who will benefit the most from just sheer time. Like, I think as time goes on in the season, that team is just going to gel together better, and they're going to click more and more.
Yeah, I agree.
So, like, I think by, like, that back half of the home stretch there, they're really going to be kind of coming together and being a tough-looking side. But enough about soccer. That's it. We did it. That's all the soccer we have in the world. If you like what you heard, you can go support That Nerdy Site over at patreon.com/thatnerdysite, like all of our wonderful patrons have today as of recording this, not when it goes live. But as of recording is the exact 1-year anniversary of the launch of That Nerdy Site. So, huzzah, party poppers. We did it.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. We are skewing a live event this year because, there's a global pandemic happening and whatnot. But I would stay tuned to social media feeds across the internet, because some sort of stream event on one of the weekends will probably happen. We're also, everybody stateside is also preoccupied by this little thing called a federal presidential election happening in 2 days that could also destroy the world. So we're kind of a little preoccupied by that too. So maybe after that, maybe after Tuesday, we'll let you know what is happening. And hopefully it's a fun stream and not a sad stream. But anyway, you can go, again, support us if you like what you heard over at patreon.com/thatnerdysite. We are getting ready to revamp and do different tiers for year 2 of That Nerdy Site, so stay tuned for all of that. You can go find. Oh, Tom, I don't even have your. I don't have the doc in front of me. Tom Hopkins, you can find at Tom Hopkins 9. Yes, I had it right then.
Spot on.
Tom Hopkins 9 on Twitter, and go check him out all across the internet. He does some good stuff there, I know, because I like it very much. Also, he's a swell chap with a cup of tea and some biscuits, all the British things. Even if you call your biscuits the wrong name, I'll never get over that. I'll never let that.
Don't get me started.
Die. It's incorrect. But yes, you can find Tom at Tom Hopkins 9. Anything that you want to plug or shout out, Tom, today?
Not particularly. Just vote for Mohamed El Neni for Player of the Season.
You heard it here first. Say it. Go do it. You can go find me at Lefty Logie or Lefty Logie. It's whatever. I don't care at this point. On Twitter, I will just second that. Go vote for Marcus Rashford, Player of the Season. I agree. And go check out all the things over at That Nerdy Site. I know that we are going to launch some new shows and projects there. It's very exciting things. Video games. You might have heard about him coming out soon.
Lots of them.
Otherwise, you can go find That Nerdy Site at That Nerdy Site all across the internet. The last thing I'm going to plug is not a plug, it's a shout out. It's a bit of remembrance here. I don't know how big of a James Bond fan you are, Tom. Perhaps you hate James Bond, in which case I get it. It's fine. But I'm a massive Bond fan. I love James Bond.
So do I.
It is right along with Star Wars. I think actually I knew this about you. I think we've talked about this at a late night San Francisco bar. But I love James Bond. It is with Star Wars my favorite film series. That's taken a rough turn for both of them actually in the last few years. But nonetheless, I love James Bond, and yesterday, as of recording this, Sean Connery has just passed away. Sean Connery's Bond films in particular had a huge impact on me as a kid because he was just the epitome of cool. And I still think his movies are absolute classics, most of them. From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, and You'll Live Twice in particular, I think are kind of the holy trinity for me of Connery flicks. And so I also wanted to give a shout out to that and the important role of Connery's Bond films in me being in the industry. So obviously, cheers to Sir Sean, and who's hopefully getting absolutely plastered somewhere good right now. Otherwise, you can go find us all over at That Nerdy Site. Until next time, play your games, watch some soccer, and be good to each other.